This is the first video in the series on the topic of databases, which is the 18th section in the IGCSE ICT syllabus. I will be focusing on the process of creation of a new database, which would be required for performing the later activities. Though you do not get any credit for this activity in the actual exam, it is important for you to perform these initial steps properly so that you do not run into any problems while attempting the actual exam. As an examiner, I have often seen students run into problems when they miss out on one or more of these steps, as they are already under exam pressure and they tend to panic when something unexpected happens. So, let's begin with the lesson. When you start Access, you will see an interface similar to the one that you see in front of you right now. The version of Access that I'm using is 2013, so if you're using a different version, you will notice some differences throughout. Mostly they will not be significant enough to cause any problems in understanding and using the techniques covered in this lesson. Now if you look at the interface, on the left hand side of the interface you will notice that there are two main items, one that reads Recent and the other one that reads Open Other Files. Underneath Recent, you will notice an item which basically shows the last project that was opened in Access before. If you do not see anything at all on your screen, that means that either the system has been refreshed or the software has been freshly installed, because of which it does not show any recent files that someone would have worked on. Open Other Files is the option that we choose if we do not see the file that we wish to open in the list under Recent. So, it will show you a dialog box from which you will be able to choose the folder and the file that you wish to open. For now, because we are talking about creating a new database, so we will move on to the next activity, which is usually the first one that we have to use when we start Access. You should be seeing two options in front of you right now, one which says Blank Desktop Database and the other one that says Custom Web App. Usually, Access does display a lot more options, which are basically wizards that are used to allow the user to create different kinds of projects from pre-designed templates. But because they are not related to your course, we will not be focusing on them. And anyways, Access on my computer is not currently displaying those options, probably due to some issues with online connectivity. Now in the two options that I see in front of me, I have to choose the one that says Blank Desktop Database. Remember, you have to choose this specific option to create a new database. Sometimes students by mistake select this option, which obviously is not going to produce the results that we expect it to. So make sure you click on the correct option. When you single click this option, it opens the dialog box that gives you two options as you see in front of you. The first one that you see over here allows you to specify a name for the database. Though you do not get any credit for this in the exam, it comes in quite handy later. Let me explain the reasons why you should do this step in the exam. Sometimes, while working on the task, a student decides to close the database to return to it later to work further on it, after they finish working on some other activity first. So, the next time they start it, they usually do not remember the name of the database file, as they did not change or notice the default name provided by Access. So if there are multiple files being displayed in the list, they would not know which one of it was that they were working on. Though it is quite obvious that it is the topmost file in the displayed list, but under exam pressure, some students kind of miss the obvious things. Coming back to the name, so if I give it a name such as SampleDB, I accidentally deleted the dot that was separating the name from the extension. So let me put it back. So now I would be able to remember the name, hopefully, because I named it myself. So I would know which file I should open because it would be displayed in the list over here. There is another reason that might cause a problem or might require you to use this particular mode of accessing the document again, and that is that let's suppose the program suddenly crashes, or maybe the computer crashes, in which case everything would be shut down abnormally, which means that you would need to restart your computer and then run access again and then open the database, which may or may not be displayed in the recent list because of the abnormal shutdown. Again, in that scenario, you would need to know the database name so that you would choose the right one. The next option that we need to consider is the location where the database is going to be created. This is important too, because if you have forgotten the database name because of exam pressure, and if you had saved the database in the exam folder where all your other files are stored, then in that case, the possibility of you running in that sort of a problem would be eliminated. So I'm going to click on this icon that appears like a folder. It will open a dialog box, which is the new file dialog box. I'm going to scroll down till I see the drive that I want to access. Now, if you have the files stored on a drive, then you would have to choose the drive. Otherwise, if the file folder has been provided to you on the desktop, then in that case, the desktop option is over here. You select it from over here and then choose the folder if it is on the desktop. But I have my files in a folder on one of the drives, so I will choose the drive and then the folder in which I'm going to create the database file. So I have chosen the folder and then I'm going to click on OK. And you would notice that the path that was displayed over here earlier has been replaced with a new path, according to the folder that I had selected from the new file dialog box. So once I have completed these steps, I'm going to click on create and the new database will be created. Now, whenever we create a new database, Access by default opens the table design module in this mode, as you see in front of you. As it is never needed for the exam, we will close this before we proceed further.